Okay. Hi, everybody. This is our monthly Ask Us Anything, and this week we are here with Jess Weston. He's the director for Valencia County Animal Control. And apparently, I've been told, it's National Dog Day, and in honor, we have Shadow here with us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Shadow?
Shadow is about a 12-week-old blue heeler that came into our facility and has ultimately been adopted by the facility. He is our new shelter dog, and he hangs out with us every day, and he's loving life now.
Well, good for him. He seems pretty happy with everything right now.
He's loving life.
Are you good? Okay. I won't want. Okay. No talking to you.
Right?
Okay.
Says I'd rather lay down and relax.
Yeah. I'll give you that back. Okay. Well, why don't you? How long have you been at the shelter?
So I started at the shelter in August of 2016, so I've been here right at 4 years now.
4 years. Okay. And you're still here, so that's good.
Still here. No plans on going anywhere.
Good.
Hopefully I'll make it to retirement as long as the county and the residents keep me around.
Okay. Well, that's good.
That's the plan.
That's good.
Come here, little buddy.
Wire. Yeah, we knew this was going to be the deal. He's wrapped up in the mic wire. Hold on. We'll get it.
Technical difficulties.
It's not even really technical. He's very it's a puppy. He's untechnical. That's his whole problem. He doesn't know what to do with the wires. So, chewing the leash. Good boy. Okay, let's get that sorted. Oh, so with the last several months that you get, COVID-19, there's a pandemic. That's changed a lot of things operationally for you guys. So, what have you had to adjust just within the shelter, taking care of the animals? And then dealing with the public when they want to come in and look at people.
We consider them people.
People, yes. Yeah. Look at the small furry people, or bring in something to surrender. How have you guys had to change that?
At the beginning of it, we were quite worried that it was going to hurt us quite a bit. We were afraid that we weren't going to have as many adoptions, and we were going to be kind of influxed with intakes and things like that. And it's actually kind of been quite the opposite. With people being home and having more time, and it seems like families are more together and at home and things like that, our adoptions have increased, and we are still open. We've consistently been open. We have not closed at all. We are by appointment only. We're still by appointment only. You call the facility. We'll give you the information where to look at the animals online. You tell us what animals you want to see, and we'll set you up an appointment time. You come in. We have a nice area out front. And our kind of play area pins.
The outside area.
Yeah, you can sit down and spend some time. Shadow, come here.
Uh-oh. He took his leash and left.
So we have that, and it's actually worked out really well. Our capacity's hanging right now right around 60%.
Okay.
Which is really good for us. We're usually this time of year we're completely full. This time of year, we're usually trying to figure out space and how to open up kennels and things like that. And fortunately enough, with COVID going on, we also started doing some weekly transports to a couple of different rescues in Colorado. And those have been routinely every week. So it's been a huge help.
Okay. Well, that's good to do. So I know one of the things someone asked, because things are kind of different operationally, and you guys are, having to watch who comes in and who comes out, what are some things the community can do to help? Because I know you have volunteers that come in and walk dogs and do things like that. How can people help? What's the best way for them to do that?
So at this time, we have our volunteer program kind of on hold. We have not let the volunteers back into the facility. We've been looking at revamping our volunteer program as far as how we let volunteers volunteer and how we let them in the facility, and kind of keeping people separate and protecting everyone. We want to make sure everybody's safe and not put anybody in jeopardy, whether it be our volunteers, our staff, or the public that's coming in either. So as of right now, we don't have any dog walkers other than our staff. We've kind of moved our staff around in the facility, and we have essentially assigned one staff member to each area specifically. And then if when we have an extra staff member, that staff member is kind of our float person. They deal with, dealing with the public that's coming in for appointments or walking. Hey. Welcome to dog life, right?
Yes. Live TV with animals.
Right.
This is you guys have seen the bloopers, so this
Hey,
is
Shadow, come
this
here.
is it. Here we are.
Shadow.
Here we are. So
Come here. And then, but the main deal right now, as far as helping, is supplies. We're always in need of puppy food. We're always in need of toys, blankets, and things like that. As it's becoming right now, it's not an issue. But here, coming up in the next few months, we're going to need colder weather items for the animals inside the facility and things like that. So you can always drop off donations at the facility. Again, anything like that, that's the biggest help that we can get right now.
I think okay.
We're also reaching out to a lot of our local rescue organizations and our food banks and things like that, and we're handing out any excess food that we get donated to us.
Okay.
Either via Walmart or the Walmart distribution center. We get quite a few different donations to us that we distribute through the community too to help out. So
Cool. Okay. So, and you kind of talked about you touched on the intake numbers, how you guys are actually lower than usual this time of year. So
that initial first month when COVID kind of hit and the pandemic, started, we did see a decrease in numbers, and it was pretty substantial. It was a little less, around 100 animals less that month than we usually see. So we were kind of a little concerned at that point, as are we going to start seeing them pop up in the community? Are we going to see issues, in certain areas or anything like that? And that first month went by, and we kind of went right back to our original numbers. But as I said, our adoption numbers went up, and our transfer numbers went up. So we've been able to take advantage of that.
Okay. Well, good. Well, so I know you guys. It's the volunteers have a Facebook page for the shelter, and they're very active, and they post animals that are available. And I know sometimes they'll post something, sometimes it'll be an animal that's sick or injured, or a mother that's just given birth. And a lot of times posts like that, they'll be looking for like, they'll say rescue only or foster only. Why do you guys kind of call those out separately and not just say, hey, do you want to adopt a mom and her litter? Why are you looking for specifically those kind of placements? So
there are a couple of different Facebook pages that follow the facility, and we do reach out to those two Facebook groups to for lack of words, put our animals out there to try to get help. The reason that we post on their rescue only is those animals are still our animals. We are not releasing them as an asset to an individual. There's not a transaction there as far as an adoption or something like that. For us to not charge a fee, we release them to a nonprofit 501c3.
Okay.
And then secondly, we release them to these rescue groups because they understand that a lot of these cases, whether it be a medical issue or a bottle feed issue or something of that nature, the medical expense is tremendous. I mean, some of these dogs can have 2,000 or 3,000. Be able to send them out and know that they're being cared for and know that you're not putting a burden on somebody or anything like that.
Yeah, because someone might have good intentions but not really get the understanding that that's going to be a lot of money maybe. So I know one thing you've been really an advocate of, and kind of a lot of people in the county want, is spay and neuter services. And last, I think it was December, you guys gave out, I made a note. I said 850 of those vouchers. I want to say it was 650. 650. Okay.
I think it was 650, and that was our initial push out, and we ended up a little over that. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but we did hand out a little over 650 spay-neuter vouchers. They were all utilized. Oh, good. Okay. We utilized every single penny of the money that we received. We were able to. So that was part of our grant appropriation
is
that
the
we
capital
received.
outlay. Yeah.
Appropriation that we received from Senator Baca and Representative Fajardo and Baldonado. That money bought all of our supplies and equipment to equip our spay-neuter clinic. So the clinic itself is ready to operate. Okay. We have tables, we have lights, we have surgical packs, we have drapes, we have recovery
Very cool.
kennels, we have a transport vehicle in case, you know, later on down the road. What we were looking at was if we do get a program up and running, then maybe we can go out and transport from a resident's home back and forth if it's a you know, an elderly person and they have a big dog, or you know, something like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, we also did build a housing area for our surgeries, and we have our building fully equipped.
Okay.
What we're lacking at this time is money for staff. We do not have money for a veterinarian or a vet tech at this point.
Right.
That's the next step in this process. We were able to get a lot of animals fixed, and hopefully our numbers this time next year will show the effects of all that is what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
As you know, I was a huge advocate for the Spayneuter bill that was passed this year, and hopefully we can continue to receive funding to help our program grow.
Right.
So.
And just kind of so people are clear in understanding the money part of it, the funds you got from the legislature to equip that building and clinic, that's called capital outlay, and that's usually used for purchasing things.
Yes.
What you guys are needing is what is called a reoccurring or an annual cost, and that's staffing. And so that has to usually come from the county. Is that correct?
And that's the deal. That will come from the county's general fund,
right?
Unless we find some type of grant or, you know, privatize funding somewhere, you know, of that nature. But unfortunately, it is coming from the general fund, and I mean, we do spend money every year. We have a line item specifically set aside for veterinary services. But that's our daily operations. That's if an animal comes in and it's injured, or we have to provide medical care for something that's you know, gets sick while it's with us, or you know, we get animals that come in that are pregnant and we have to do cesareans on, or every animal that comes into the facility gets a vaccine and a microchip. So we have a little bit of money set aside for veterinary services, but this is a little bump in an extra added bump in it that we need to hire our very own veterinarian.
Right, and then you need to be able to have that money every year to continue the program.
Yes.
So, okay. Okay, well, I think that kind of covered that group of questions there. So we had some folks that did send in questions, and one of them was, if animal control efforts were to be consolidated countywide, do you think this would strengthen enforcement and compliance?
Yes, and actually it's kind of interesting that question was brought up. Myself and the Village of Las Vegas and the City of Belen just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago where we sat down and we're trying to come up with a unified ordinance. It will still be, you know, Belen's ordinance or Las Vegas' ordinance or the county ordinance, but we're all trying to redo our ordinances so that we'll be all on the same page. So if you live in Las Vegas, you're going to have the same rules as if you live in Belen, or if you live in Belen, they'll be the same as the county. A lot of people move around, or you know, they'll come in from one area, or they're not sure where the boundaries of the village lies, or the city, you know. And that way, it's a little bit easier to deal with, and the goal is that we have more compliance.
Right.
We want to make it easy for the residents, and we want to make it better for the animals. You know?
Sure.
So
yeah.
Some of the things that we're looking at in the ordinance changing are adding some spay-neuter regulations. We'd like to. We're looking at changing up some of our chaining regulations. We'd like to develop a TNR program, which is trap, neuter, release for cats. There's quite a few things that we're looking at in the ordinance, and the county is kind of going to be the guinea pig per se for all the surrounding communities. We're going to try to get our ordinance put together and have it signed off on by all the surrounding communities, but we're going to be the first to present it. I'm going to try to get something. The plan is to get something in front of the commission by the first of the year.
Okay.
So.
On that note, we have a question by Belen Mayor Jared Cordova. How can the cities who house animals at the facility help improve animal control and care in our county, other than just paying our bill?
I think compliance in the surrounding municipalities, and like I said, myself and Stephen Gonzalez and Adolf Lopez from the village, and we all got together, and during that meeting, one thing that we talked about was getting everybody on the same page. I think that's the biggest thing right now is there's so many different little rules and regulations in this community and that community, and everybody gets frustrated and they're like, oh, we're just not going to do anything. So I think getting everybody on the same page will help with compliance, and at the end of the day, the compliance is going to help animal welfare through our county.
Okay. And just a clarification on process, like you said, the county's going to be the guinea pig on this. And while this will be kind of a uniform set of rules, each jurisdiction will have to take it to their governing body and approve it. It's not like the county's going to pass it and then everybody has to do it.
And at the end of the day, each municipality is going to have a little bit of different regulation. You know, what works for Lessons may not work totally for Belen. What works for Belen may not work totally for the county. You know, vice versa all the way around. But we're opening up these discussions and trying to become one and trying to help each other. As the county, we're kind of the, I guess you could say, you know, the glue of the community, and hopefully we can bring everybody together and make everybody kind of stick together and make it work. We've come a long way in our community over the last 20 years with animal welfare, and hopefully we can continue that direction.
Well, good. Okay. Okay, so what would you say, what's the number one violation that your animal control officers see when they're out in the field?
Probably running at large. Our number one complaint, our number one issue that my officers see every day is dogs out. It may be, you know, we went to work this morning and the gate got left open and the dog got out and I had to get the kids to school or whatever, and I didn't have time to catch it, or, you know, I went to work and I let the dog out and the fence was good last night and it dug out, or, you know, the wind blew and the gate blown open.
Yeah.
Or, you know, there's a million different stories, but that's our biggest problem throughout the county. And the bad part is that is kind of the open door to the next set of problems, which is, you know, a livestock attack, or, you know, an animal getting poisoned, or an animal attacking another animal, or a dog bite on a person. But it all generates with that initial animal run at large. If people would check their fences a little better, you know, make a walk once a week through your fence. Check for holes. Check for, you know, if a post is broke, or, you know, the dog's been digging, or, you know, something of that nature. But if we could get our residents to once a week walk through their property and make sure that they have good containment for the animal, I think it would help tremendously.
Yeah, and I know everyone says, oh, my dog wouldn't hurt anyone, or they wouldn't do that, but they're still kind of little tiny house wolves in a way.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, they still are an animal, and it's unfortunate. I mean, we don't always know the circumstances that our dogs are going to get put into.
True.
And, you know, we try to train them the best and take care of them the best that we can, but we don't always know the circumstances that they're going to get put into and how they're going to react to it.
Yeah.
So, and it's not fair to them to be put in those positions. We're here to protect them and keep them safe, and that's what we should be doing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, so what component of the job do you think makes enforcing the ordinances and regulations difficult? I
don't know how to kind of pinpoint it down to one thing, but in our community, there's a diverse culture. You have one set of people that are they want their animals inside. They want, you know, they want they're members of their family, and, you know, they treat them just like their children. We have another set of our community that has outside animals, and it doesn't mean they don't care for their animals, but they treat them a different way. And getting those two walks away doesn't mean that they don't care for their animals any differently.
Right.
But that's got to be the hardest one. It's getting people to understand how the regulation works and how the ordinance works, and just because they're not caring for an animal the way you would care for your animal doesn't mean they're not meeting code.
Right. Well, so kind of touching on that, because this is a conversation you and I have had before, and I've talked with your officers, and you'll get a call from someone who, you know, my neighbor's abusing their animal, and they'll go out there, and they're they're healthy, they have food, shelter, water. It's just they have an outdoor dog versus an indoor dog. So what can people look for to help them kind of realize where is the line between this person just treats their dog differently than mine versus this is something that's putting their dog's life in danger, or it's abuse and I should call
Right.
somebody.
So at the end of the day, I mean, our ordinance and none of the ordinances within the county, as far as Belen, Las Lunas, Peralta, Bosque Farms, Isleta, none of them have an anti-chaining ordinance. Everybody is allowed to have their animal tethered. The way the regulations are written throughout the different municipalities kind of regulates how that can be done, but an animal can be left outside by ordinance 24/7. The animal doesn't have to be brought in. Is that how I take care of my animal? No. My dog sleeps on my feet at the end of the bed every night. He's with me all the time, but there's a fine line of what's okay and what's not okay. And unfortunately, the way the ordinances are kind of written, there's not a definition of that.
Okay.
But I mean, the main thing is, if you see an animal outside and it's chained up, realize that that's not illegal. But there are some things you can look for. Make sure that the dog can move around freely. Make sure that the collar is not embedded in the dog's neck. Make sure that it's not too tight. Make sure that it's an actual collar. You'd be amazed how many times we see animals come in and they have a piece of wire or a chain or a rope or something like that wrapped around their neck, and they're using that as a collar. Those are not okay. That's not an okay way to contain your animal. You'll see people come in and they'll be on you'll go to somebody's house or yard or something, and an animal will be on a 3-foot lead. That's not okay. The animal needs to be able to move freely, exercise, get in and out of shade, get away from the elements of whatever season we're in, whether it be hot, cold, and then clean water. That's another big key. People will say, "Oh, my dog has water," and you go out there and it's a muddy bowl of this or that in it, and that's not okay either. I mean, would you want to drink that water?
Yeah. That's
kind of always my go-to. Well, if that's clean water, then get you a drink. Well, why should the dog drink that? We need to care about our animals. We're put in the place, and we put ourselves in the place of getting these animals and caring for them.
Right.
So they need to be cared for correctly. So.
Okay. Did we have any questions or anything yet? Or?
We have a question. Why can't, do they have a prison program or an inmate program where they can come and walk the dogs?
So we actually do have a prison program. We partner with Viva Animal Rescue. Ashley is a huge part of our shelter. She comes in and she selects dogs, and they go through an 8-week training program at the prison. They live at the prison. At any given time, we have anywhere between 15 and 25 animals at the prison. They come in, they select them, they go through their program, they train them, and then they adopt them. They never come back to the facility. And that's a huge part of our facility. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, one thing, and we kind of touched on it a couple times, that, it's late August, it's still hot, we're in the 90s, but it's going to start getting cooler really soon, and cooler at night. And so what are some things that, because we live in the desert and it's 65 and it's not that cold, but maybe it is for an animal. So what are some good things people can do, maybe start getting ready now or start thinking about to prepare for the colder weather?
The big one I would say is the shelters that these animals are sleeping in at night. Right now during the summer months, it's okay to have a dog crate or a travel crate outside to have your dog get in. It has airflow, it keeps them cool during the summer. It provides a little bit of shade, but during the winter months there's no insulation in those. Okay. And again, it lets the air flow through. The dogs can't stay warm. So right now is the time to start looking at your dog's doghouse. Would it keep you warm? Is it something you would want to sleep in? I keep going back to that one, but that's my big deal. Is it something that you would be okay with? So insulated dog houses, something with a substantial floor that can get the dog up off the ground. That little air brake, you put a dog up, I've seen a lot of people, they go get a pallet from, you know, whatever store, the shipping pallet, and they'll build a doghouse on that. That little bit of 3 to 4 inches up off the ground makes a tremendous difference of how that animal can stay warm.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of different ways, but the big one is making sure your dog's got sufficient shelter for the winter.
Okay. Are there any, do you know of, like, I don't know, nonprofits or organizations locally that can help people with stuff like that?
So we actually have quite a few people, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the group, but they will build, and it's 3 or 4, but they'll build us 3 or 4 dog houses, and they'll drop them off at the shelter. We have a couple other people that they'll go around to yard sales, and they'll, you know, if they see an old dog house for sale at a yard sale, they'll pick it up and bring it to us and donate it to us. And then what we do is, when my officers are out in the field every day, if they see a dog that's in need, or you know, maybe an elderly person that can't get out there and put a new dog house, but the dog house is dilapidated, then we'll try to get those resources out to the residents.
Okay.
We also have an M dog out of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, Angela Stell. She buys hay. She buys straw hay for us, and we house that at the facility. And throughout the winter, if somebody needs hay for their doghouse or their pen or whatever it be, they just come by and see us, and we get them hooked up with the straw, and that's been a tremendous help. We've done that for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, we were talking a lot about dogs, and on my list of questions here, I just simply have cats.
So we actually have some pretty good stuff going on with our cat program.
Okay.
Right now.
Tell us about the cat program.
We just purchased a bunch of new cat kennels for our adoption cat room.
Oh, cool.
The ones that we had in there were kind of old and dilapidated, particle board, and obviously particle board and water and moisture doesn't mix, so they were getting in pretty bad shape. So our adoption cat room just got all brand new cages.
Nice.
Like I said earlier, we're looking at our ordinance talking about creating a TNR program, which I don't know if everybody knows is trap, neuter, release. So if you have a cat outdoors at your house and you don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but you don't want to have it, you know, create 100 babies over the next 6 months, we're looking at something to get set up where we can help you out with that, and you get the cat back to you and release it to that area.
Okay.
TNR community programs have worked in communities all around this nation.
Okay.
Albuquerque has one. It works very well, and I think it would benefit our communities around here too. We have quite a few cat rescues that have stepped up and helped our euthanasia numbers to go down as far as having to euthanize for space on cats. Hart is one of them. Shannon Brady is a huge supporter of us and keeps us going. Becky Burkhart. We have a really good crew of cat supporters. Tia Jones comes in every day just about and helps us out at the facility, and she's a huge help to us. So things are moving forward in the cat world too.
Good.
I know they, like you said, they kind of always get the back door, not always in the spotlight, but they're in our spotlight all the time, and we're working on them too. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a very specific hashtag out there on social media for cats, which I won't say, but they can be little jerk faces, frankly. So yeah, you know, but they're still likable.
They are.
For the most
cats
part.
are awesome. Unfortunately, to me, I'm allergic to cats. But it's kind of crazy. I love cats.
Oh, really?
Honestly, if I could have a cat, I'd rather have a cat than a dog. But I'm allergic to them. You get me around a cat, and my eyes puff up.
Oh,
and,
no!
You know, I do all that, but
even those really because they have hairless cats, which are
actually a friend of mine has a hairless cat, and he's the funniest looking poor little thing.
I have so many questions about those guys. They just always look angry, frankly. but that's okay.
But yeah, our cat program is doing awesome.
So, is there a timeline when volunteers can start going back to the shelter and helping?
We're kind of waiting on the governor's direction and the health order. At this time, with everything that's set up, I don't have a timeline, or we're looking at redoing our volunteer policy to try to change up some things about how they're organized and how they operate with us, but at this time I don't have a timeline. We're looking at it very closely, and we're hoping very soon.
Okay. Oh, what else? Did anybody else ask questions, or we're gonna check?
Poor Shadow's tearing up the office over here.
I know. That's okay though. You know, it's either the sports guy makes a mess too, so it's fine.
So what can be done about the stray dog problem in Valencia County? What is the solution, or what?
So my main two objectives with our stray dog problem has been spay and neuter and containment. We need to get spay and neuter resources on a consistent, reliable basis in this community. Our abundance of animals that are out running around because the neighbor's dog is in heat, or you know, a mama dog got out and had pups, and then those pups turn into strays and they're out running around. That's my number one kind of focus, and has been since I started, is spay neuter to try to reduce numbers out in the field. And then secondly, like I said, is the enforcement side of it. Containment, like getting people proper, you know, fencing and tethering setups and like that, so we can properly contain animals into a yard. My animal control officers, they all carry around a toolkit with them. They all carry around fence fixing supplies.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
you know, 90% of us are at work every day. And when the animal control officers are out working, you're at work and your dog's out there. So instead of them bringing it into the facility, we try to fix the fence, fix the gate, you know, put something back into place where we can keep that animal at home and not bring it into the shelter. So.
Okay.
So there's another question. I know volunteers would come in and walk the dogs. One viewer is asking, why can't Valencia County inmates come and walk the dogs?
So we actually were using some of the inmates from the detention center at one point. It turns into a staffing issue. We've had to, the last 2 years ago, we had to lay off employees from Valencia County. There's not a whole lot of detention officers.
Yeah.
And there's just not staffing for it.
Okay.
We love the inmate help, actually. They love getting out. They love being part of it.
Yeah.
But there's just not the staff.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I mean, we do have the prison dog program, PAWS program.
Right. And that's the dogs going to them.
That's going to the prison, and that's, you know, they utilize those animals in the MHTC ward, which is the mental health ward over at the prison. And since that has happened, since our program has started over there, they have had zero violent outbursts against their detention officers over there in that one area. So
in that pod. Nice.
It's a huge help.
Yeah.
It's a huge help to, you know, not only the animals, the detention officers, the inmates. Its quality of life all the way around has increased. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, anything else we maybe didn't touch on yet?
I think that's it right now. I mean, I just my big message is please spare neuter your animal. If you need help, there's a few resources out there. With everything going on with COVID right now, funding is getting scarce, but there's still a few programs out there we can direct you toward low cost ones, or you know, things like that. But whatever you got to do, you take the responsibility for bringing this animal and caring for it. Please get it fixed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, there was something I was going to ask you. I forgot. So it's kind of a significant question. Something we've wondered here in the office. Do all dogs go to heaven?
They do.
They do. Okay.
They do.
Okay.
They all do. We have the Rainbow Bridge, and they all go there. That's all dogs have a good heart, and you know, it's not their fault. They're raised a wrong way, or they're not taken care of the right way. But they all do at the end go to the same place.
Okay. It's good to know.
One more question.
Oh, somebody else.
Can Jess address the high number of owner surrenders?
So our owner surrenders have actually gone down with COVID, and I think that's a lot to do with people being home and being able to care for them and take care of the situation a little better.
Right. He's fine.
I think a lot of it is resources. Our community doesn't have a lot of resources for people to help take care of their animals. people, and again, spay-neuter. You get 5 or 6 or 10 puppies running around in your yard, and they look all fluffy and cute, and then they hand them off to this friend, or this person takes it, or whatever the situation, and people aren't aware of what it really involves of taking care of an animal. I mean, just as we've been sitting here doing this interview, there's 4 of us trying to wrangle one puppy,
and we're not very successful.
and keep him, occupied. It takes a lot, and I think that's a lot of what happens is people don't realize kind of what they're getting into at the beginning of it. Slow down, think about the decision. With our new adoption process with COVID, with making specific appointments and dealing with a little bit more one-on-one basis, I think it's helped tremendously with our owner releases.
Really?
They're going down. People are kind of understanding what it means to have that animal. We're a little bit slower, so we can, express to them, hey, this is what's going to happen. I mean, just for instance, this healer that we have here, Shadow, I mean, he is high activity and high energy, and he needs a lot of work. He wants something to do, and he needs that. If you can get people to understand those things, hopefully they have a better shot of keeping the animal and taking care of it.
Right. So like that type of dog, it wouldn't be probably best for someone who maybe lives in an apartment and isn't very mobile. You need someone who's active and can take them.
Definitely not an apartment dog. Definitely not a low mobility dog. He is a ball of joy. He plays around with a 100-pound German Shepherd at home all day, and he wears the German Shepherd out.
Right.
And I mean, he's just nonstop go all day. So.
But I know people, they want a companion animal and they think, that would be something nice to do, but they need to think about all of those different things. Definitely. And there's a lot that comes down the road from it.
Definitely breed in energy levels and activity things. They have to have something to do. Yeah. He's over there scratching at himself now.
Oh, it is reflection in the door.
Shadow. Shadow.
Come here. What are you doing? So lots of things to consider before you get one of those.
Definitely. Size of yard. I mean, Shadow's a small dog, but he needs some area to run around.
Right. Yeah.
A small yard, he's gonna tear things up because he doesn't have enough area to get that energy level out.
Right. So, yeah.
There's all kinds of different things to think about.
Yeah. So. And just like you said, the spay neutering expenses. Do I have feeding them, making sure that I have money for vet care. There's all those things that come down the road that when they're little and cute, you might not necessarily think about. But,
right.
Yeah. So okay. Do we have any other questions or? Okay. Well, Jess, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. And thank you for bringing Shadow. He's been a delight. The frequent look of terror is when he gets close to the mic cords that go to the phone.
It's a good chew toy,
Yeah. No.
Thanks for having us.
That's great.
And hopefully we've been able to answer some questions for the community. And if they have any questions, if there's any other questions, feel free to reach out to us at the shelter.
Okay. And what's the number at the shelter?
866-2479, and either extension 2 or 3 will get you to my front desk, and they'll be able to help you out where to go from there.
All right.
If you have animal control questions, shelter questions, dog questions, cat questions, whatever, we're there to help.
Okay. So. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.